it's the story of how I climbed the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. So it was December 9th or 10th, 2010, and it was early in the evening, and I had visited the Giza Plateau twice already the past 2 days and been inside the Great Pyramid multiple times, which was a goal of mine to see the interior. Um, the Giza Plateau is surrounded by like 14 miles or something of concrete wall that's like, 10 feet tall. And then on top of that, there's a chain link fence with barbed wire on top that's also like 8 feet tall. So I'm walking around the perimeter of the site after it closed at night, and there's guards at all the entrances and stuff. So I'm kind of sneaking back through the alleyways where the Kyrienes, or the Gizans have all their trash pushed up against the concrete wall, and I kept trying to find places where I could climb the trash and get up into the wall and maybe try and squeeze through the fence. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anywhere to get in, and I'd been out for about an hour looking, and I went down a dark alleyway, and I met this guy actually who I started chatting with and told him I was going to go see the light and sound show at the Sphinx, and he told me the one in English was already over, which was true. So I couldn't fool him anymore. He kind of figured out that I was interested in getting in, and this man had lived in Giza his whole life and knew the guards. He said. That were guarding the pyramids that night, so he claimed he could get me in somehow. And everybody in Egypt is trying to make your money, so I wasn't sure if I should trust him, but I figured I would take the risk. He only asked me for like 70, I forget what their money is called right now, but pretty cheap. Requested a little forward payment to come pick me up later that evening outside of my hotel. And I was actually staying in a big hotel for one night so I could get a real shower and stuff like that. But sure enough, he came around when he said he was going to come around, and he picked me up in this really crappy car, and we drove into yet another dark alleyway, and we had a couple cups of tea, and he made some phone calls and arranged to get me to the site and get me inside after the guard captain left. And the guard captain apparently didn't leave till about 3 in the morning or something, so it's about 4 in the morning when we're doing this whole thing. And so he takes me to a section on the northern side of the fencing there. And sure enough, there's actually a hole in the fencing up there that's been pried inward. So somebody inside Giza pried it in. And so 2 guards appear with weapons, of course. They carry shotguns and AK-47s. They're allowed to shoot you if you climb the pyramid, allegedly, but I didn't think they'd ever do it. But I didn't attempt it during the day. It's pretty easy to get caught, but so they squeezed me in through this hole in the fence, and they walked me in between what they call the Queen's Pyramids that are on the north face of the Great Pyramid, and they took me to, I guess, what was the northeast corner, and that was apparently the best place to climb because the blocks were the most intact, and they gave me a limited amount of time. They said don't do any flash photography at the top because people will see you. So I started climbing. So the Great Pyramid is 481 feet tall. It's 302 courses of masonry, that's stone blocks. And you'd be surprised to know that the biggest blocks are not at the base of the pyramid. They're actually in the middle and towards the top of the pyramid. And some of the smallest blocks are like 2 feet tall, so they're easy to surmount. But you come up to blocks that are like 4 feet tall when you're 280 feet in the air. climbing this monument that is literally crumbling under every grip of you. Every time you grip the stones, it just falls apart in your hands and collapses under your feet. And it's been illegal actually to climb the Great Pyramid since 1982 because so many people have fallen to their deaths trying to climb it. But it's a relatively easy climb for somebody who's in shape. I got to the top, and it was a spectacular view of Giza and Cairo lit up at night. Absolutely amazing. One of the most exhilarating moments of my life that I wish I could relive, and maybe I'll try to go back and do it again. But I was up there for a few minutes, and I hung out, and I really, really, really soaked it up and enjoyed it. It was definitely a pinnacle moment of my life, and one of the moments that I always look back on as being really definitive of, who I am. So anyway, I made my way down the pyramid, and as I did, I stuffed my cargo pants pockets full of stones. So this is the biggest one that I got, and I had a ton of other little ones that I've given people over the years that were interested in the Great Pyramid. But all the other tourists that were leaving the airport were like getting caught with stones and sand, and I made it through with like tons and tons and tons of stuff. Anyway, this is dolomite. This is the packing stones that were beneath the now removed casing stones that were Tura limestone. That you now see on the outside of the Great Pyramid. So anyway, I got down from the pyramid. They congratulated me on a great climb. They very, very quickly ushered me out of the plateau through the same hole in the fence, and my getaway partner and I left for the night, and I gave him a big old tip and thanked him very much for helping me to get this experience that I'd researched before I went over to Egypt, how to get away with climbing the Great Pyramid, and it was a number one goal of mine going over there, and it was totally awesome to have achieved it. So anyway, that's the story of me climbing the Great Pyramid. I'm sure there's some details missing there and other stuff I'd love to tell you, but this will be my first little showing you my life video entry.